Yahuwah brought us out of bondage, and we are in Mystery Babylon right now. So, climate change. Let's discuss climate change. This is Education and True Word of Yahuwah. Climate change is Abba Yahuwah causing desolation or prosperity. So, the word of Abba Yahuwah is clear on what climate change is and what it is not. So this sermon will look at our Bibles and other books that give us vital information on what is really going on. Again, welcome to the insurrection of this earth via the order of Melchizedek. And if you libertards want to think that you're going to prevent my father from returning with your climate change agenda, ooh, Judgment Day. I can't wait. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or what the fuck your name is. So, what is climate change? According to National Geographic, climate change is the long-term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a place. Climate change could refer to a particular location of the planet as a whole. Climate change may cause weather patterns to be less predictable. These unexpected weather patterns can make it difficult to maintain and grow crops in regions that rely on farming because expected temperature and rain levels can no longer be relied on. Climate change has also been connected with other damaging weather events, such as more frequent and more intense hurricanes, floods, downpours, and winter storms. So, let's get an understanding. What is global warming? According to Encyclopedia Britannica, global warming is the phenomena of increasing average air temperature near the surface of Earth over the past 1 to 2 centuries. These sets of data points indicate the Earth's climate has changed over almost every conceivable time scale since the beginning of geologic time, and that the influence of human activities since at least the beginning of the Industrial Revolution has been deeply woven into the very fabric of climate change. So according to the encyclopedia, global warming has been occurring for the last 100 to 200, a century or centuries, according to science, due to the Industrial Revolution, causing the air temperatures to increase. According to science, global warming has only occurred since 1821 or 1921, depending on whether you're looking at 2 centuries or 1. So what are greenhouse gases? According to your Nazis at NASA, besides CO2, there are other greenhouse gases. These include water vapor, methane, nitrous oxide, and ozone. Without any greenhouse gases, Earth would be an icy wasteland. Greenhouse gases keep our planet livable by holding onto some of Earth's heat energy so that it does not all escape into space. This heat trapping is known as the greenhouse effect. Again, hi, I took earth science. I'm a psychology major. And Dr. Parvey was amazing. I love her very much. Best professor ever. So, let's continue. Just as too little greenhouse gas makes Earth too cold, too much greenhouse gas makes Earth too warm. Over the last century, humans have burned coal, oil, and gas in our cars, trucks, planes, trains, and power plants and factories. Burning such fossil fuel produces CO2 as a waste product. Putting so much new CO2 into the air has made Earth warmer. If we continue on our path, we will cause even more warming. Again, this is what your Nazis at NASA have said. Let me continue. CO2 is a big part of the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle traces carbon's path from the atmosphere into living organisms, then turning into dead organic matter, going into the oceans and back to the atmosphere. Scientists describe the cycle in terms of sources, part of the cycle that adds carbon to the atmosphere, and sinks, part of the cycle that removes carbon from the atmosphere. So because this is an educational program, and it's not PG-13. So, my bad. Anyway, it's all online, so you can listen to it without the cuss words at River City Revival. Now, you can also look and see the cycle of CO2 and what are considered a sink or a source. So, the key to keeping everything in balance is for the source and sinks to have the same amount of CO2. The most important sinks are the oceans, which include seawater itself, the organisms living there, and the sediments on the ocean floor, as well as plants and soil on the land. So if you're constantly cutting down trees and doing deforestation, then you're doing a disservice to all humanity. The ocean stores most of the world's carbon, but forests are very important too. For the forests and the oceans, each remove around 1/4 of the carbon we humans have added to the atmosphere. So again, according to NASA, the sinks are the oceans as well as the plants and soil on the land. So if you keep paving over everything, we have taken a sink away. So yeah, let's build these mega cities on our oceans, on the riverfronts, on whatever sink that we can, and then let's blame humanity for being so vile and disgusting, when in actuality, your motherfuckers in your government know exactly what they're doing. So, Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, bitch, I got you. Here's another question I had. Does the rising water backflow into rivers? Because if there's such a thing as rising water, shouldn't it, by, logic, backflow into the rivers? If our oceans are, such a threat to, wiping out the coast, wouldn't it be logical, since the ocean is a basin and all rivers flow into the ocean, that they would backflow? Estuaries at the mouth of rivers have in the past handled rising ocean levels. Sediments that accumulate along the edge of an estuary, which is the term for it, can rise the level of the land as the sea level rises. The mangrove swamp, which buffers many a coastal zone around the world, flourish in brackish conditions. But because of our preference for living in coastal areas and our habitat of re-engineering our surroundings, accordingly, humans make matters worse by preventing natural processes from managing the change. On the coast, we build roads and buildings and replace natural buffers like mangrove swamps with dikes and bullheads to control flooding, which make the problem worse by preventing beach sediment from collecting. And as we dam rivers and create reservoirs, we trap the sediments that would naturally flow into the sea. So, Alexandria Ortiz, whatever the fuck bitch your name is, I love this. I love this. So, what does Abba Yahuwah and his word say about climate change and global warming? To answer this question, we need to understand what Abba Yahuwah's word has to say regarding no change in season and climate to human-influenced changes. We need to look at creation first. Then we will talk about the appointed paths of the elements and learn about how seasons, elements, and all things regarding nature are set into place. Jubilees 2:5-8 states, and on the third day he commanded the waters to pass from off the face of the whole earth into one place, and the dry land to appear. And the waters did so as he commanded them, and they retired from off the face of the earth into one place outside of this firmament. And the dry land appeared. And on that day he created for them all the seas according to their separate gathering places, and all the rivers and the gatherings of the water in the mountains, and on all the earth and all the lakes, and all the dew of the earth, and the seed which is sown, and all the sprouty things, and fruit-bearing trees, and trees of the wood, and the garden of Eden in Eden, and all plants after their kind. These four great works God created on the third day. And on the fourth day he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of heaven, to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. Now, we know about the sun, moon, and stars. What about the wind? The wind has appointed paths and origins for all four divisions of the earth: north, south, east, and west. Enoch, chapter 76, the whole chapter. And at the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals open to all quarters of heaven, from which the wind goes forth and blows over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face, which is east of the heavens, and 3 in the west, and 3 on the right, meaning the south of the heaven, and 3 on the left, meaning the north. And the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 of the north, and 3, meaning on the left, are the south, and 3 of the west. Now, if you have looked at any of my maps, you will know that that is exactly how it's divided. These portals are color coordinated for your benefit. Now, through 4 of these came winds of blessing and prosperity, and from those 8 came hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on the earth, and on the water upon it, and all who dwell thereon, and on everything which is in the water, and on the land. And the first wind from those portals, called the east winds, comes forth through the first portal, which is in the east, inclining towards the south. From it comes forth desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. And through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting. And from it there comes rain, and fruitfulness, and prosperity, and dew. And through the third portal, which lies towards the north, comes cold and drought. And after these things come forth the south winds through 3 portals. Through the first portal of them, inclining to the east, comes forth a hot wind. And through the middle portal next to it, there comes forth fragrant smells, and dew, and rain, and prosperity, and health. And through the third portal lying to the west comes forth dew, and rain, and locust, and desolation. And after these the north winds. From the 7th portal in the east comes dew, and rain, locust, and desolation. And from the middle portal comes in a direct direction health, and rain, and dew, and prosperity. And through the third portal in the west come cloud, and hoarfrost, and snow, and rain, and dew, and locust. And after these 4 are the west winds through the first portal, adjoining the north, come forth dew, and hoarfrost, and cold, and snow, and frost. And from the middle portal comes forth dew, and rain, and prosperity, and blessing. And through the last portal, which adjoins the south, comes forth drought, and desolation, and burning, and destruction. And the 12 portals of the 4 quarters of the heavens are there within completed. And all their laws, and all their plagues, and all their benefactions have I shown to thee, my son Methuselah. So here Enoch is telling Methuselah what Abba Yahuwah has shown to him. So more information on the path and the course of the moon and sun, please read Enoch chapters 72 through 82. If you want to read about flat earth, welcome to the insurrection of the earth via the order of Melchizedek. I wrote a book called Flat Earth. Check it out. It's on Amazon. Or you can read the sermons for free. Whatever. Now, there is no change in season or climate. Genesis 8:22. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. We will look at the word remain, as this word is important. Very important. This verse does not mean that there will not be a renewing of heaven and earth, which is what Revelation 21 verse 1 says. This means in the appointed times, seasons, harvest, cold, and heat, that shall not cease. So when new heaven and new earth comes, we're not having all that cold because it's paradise. Who has paradise in the freaking Arctic? Not me. So again, common sense. The word remaineth is a Hebrew word, and it means yom. And it means to be hot, a day as the warm hours, whether literal from sunrise to sunset. And it means as defining by evening and morning, as the vision of time, a working day, temporal references, okay? So again, this verse means until Abba Yahuwah changes and restores the earth, our seasons, seed times, and so on will not cease. Therefore, the threat of global warming and climate change is that a threat. They want in your head, zombies. In your head, zombies. What's in your head? Hope. Hope is in my head. Hope's in her room. So, Psalm 104 verse 5 says, who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be removed forever. The word here, removed, means be out of course. By implication, to slip or shake. Who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be moved out of course. Man can change law all they want. Man can remove Abba Yahuwah out of his creation all they want. But again, it's Star Wars. So when the darkness rises, so does the light. And therefore, Alexandria Cortez bitch face, you can stop indoctrinating the world with your corrupt ways and lies. Let's continue. This verse states that the foundations of the earth will not be moved out of course. Let us read some more in Psalm 104. Psalm 104:10. He sends the spring into the valleys, which run among the hills. Psalm 104:13 through 14. He waters the hills from his chambers. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of thy works. He causes the grass to grow for cattle, and herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth. Again, everything is ordained according to Abba Yahuwah by his word. Now, where are we going to check this out some more? Wisdom of Solomon. Because yes, Grandpa Solomon knew this too. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17 through 21. And I'm getting tongue-tied because I hear you witches. Ooh, I hit a nerve. Let me salt myself, bitch. Now, Wisdom of Solomon, 17 through 21. For he has given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements, So even Abba Yahuwah told who? King Solomon. The beginning, ending, and midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the changing of seasons, the circuits of years, and the position of stars, the nature of living creatures, and the fairies of the wild beasts, the violence of winds, and the reasonings of man, the diversities of plants, and the virtues of roots, and all such things as are either secret or manifest, them I know. So it'd be wise to read Wisdom of Solomon. Now, remember, I told you it's Abba Yahuwah making these changes in our lives because of defilement. You guys should know my favorite verse by now, Leviticus 19:29. Don't prostitute your daughters because you make the land desolate. Way to go, Alexandria Cortez. You want abortion, bitch face. Keep the land desolate. My father is going to handle you. Jeremiah 2:7. And I brought you into a plentiful country to eat the fruit thereof and the goodness therefore. But when you entered, you defiled my land and made my heritage an abomination. So here the word defiled is important. And it means a primitive word to be foul, especially in a ceremonial or moral sense. Contaminated. What is abortion? That is passing your child to Gabriel Satan in the name of the Vatican, the unholy Roman Catholic government. So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez bitch face? No, you've been usurped. It also means to defile oneself sexually by idolatry, and again, ceremonial. So what are you doing when you're aborting your babies? Yeah, you're giving a ceremony to who? Again, the unholy serpent over in the Vatican. When the people of the land are unclean, meaning all of the above that I just stated, that land becomes desolate. We find an example of this in the book of Jubilees, chapter 11, where we learn about ravens eating seeds, and the land was barren. The ravens leave when Abram turns to Abba Yahuwah and begins to pray to the Creator of all things. Now, it's important to understand that Prince Maxima is the ruling angel being over, spirits. Abba didn't let them just go wild and free. He has control over this whole situation. But it's about y'all repenting and coming to know the truth, because the truth will set you free. So we're going to pick up in Jubilees, chapter 11, verse 4. And the Prince Maxima exerted himself to do all this, and he sent forth other spirits, those which were put under his hand, to do all manner of wrong and sin and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy, and to shed blood upon the earth. For this reason he called the name of Serg, or Shurg, we talked about that before, for everyone turned to do all manner of sin and transgression. Sarag, or Shurg, was a king in Mesopotamia. If you didn't catch that sermon, please go back and rewind. And he grew up and oh, bro, I hear you. Yes, be kind, rewind, whatever. And he grew up and dwelt in Ur of the Chaldees, near to the father of his wife's mother. And he worshipped idols and took to himself a wife in the 36th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the first year, which was year 1744. And her name was Melka, the daughter of Cabor, the daughter of his father's brother. And she bore to him Nor in the first year of this week, and he grew up and dwelt in Ur of the Chaldees, and his father taught him the researches of the Chaldees, to divine and augur according to the signs of heaven. And in the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the first year of, that's 1800, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Ishka, the daughter of Nastog of the Chaldees. And she bore to him Terah in the 7th week of this week. And the prince Maximus sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land, in order to destroy the land and rob the children of men of their labors. Before they could plow in the seed, the ravens picked it up from the surface of the ground. And for this reason he called his name Terah, because the ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution and devoured their seed. And this year began to be barren, owing to the birds, and they devoured all the fruit of the trees from the trees. It was only with great effort that they could save a little of all the fruit of the earth in their days. And in the 39th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the first year, Terah took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister. And in the 7th year of this week, she bore him a son, and called him Abram by the name of the father of his mother, so his grandfather. For he had died before his daughter conceived a son. So her mother, or her father, was dead before Abraham was even thought of. That's what it says. So she gave him her father's name, just like we do today. And the children began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images and after uncleanliness. And his father taught him writing, and he was 2 weeks of years old, and he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him. And he began to pray to the Creator of all things, that he might save him from the error of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall into error after uncleanliness and violence. Okay, so let me clear this up for a second, because you heard me say he was 2 weeks of years old. If y'all don't know what a week is, that's not my problem anymore. You need to get your handy dandy calculator and figure it out. So anyway, Abraham was born in 1876. When he told his father, fuck you idols, it was 1890. So again, do your homework, do your math. And he began to pray to the Creator of all things, that he might save him from the errors of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall into error after uncleanliness and vileness. And the seed time came for sowing of seed upon the land, and they all went forth together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Abraham went forth with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years. So see, the math was done for you in the next sentence anyway. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed, and Abraham ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, descend not, return to the place whence you came. And they proceeded to turn back. So the moral of this story is, you tell the motherfucking demons to go back where you came from. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So, and he caused the cloud of ravens to turn back that day 70 times. And all the ravens throughout all the land where Abraham was, there settled not so much as one. And all who were with him throughout all the land saw him cry out. And all the ravens turned back, and his name became great in all the land of the Chaldees. And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow, meaning the farmers came to Abraham and said, how'd you do that, son? Well, he will teach you. So, and there came to him this year all those that wished to sow, and he went with them until the time of sowing ceased. And they sowed their land, and that year they brought enough grain home to eat and were satisfied. And in the first year of the 5th week, this is 1891, Abraham taught those who made implements for ox, the artificers in wood, and they made a vessel above the ground facing the frame of the plow in order to put the seed thereon, and the seed fell down therefrom upon the share of the plow and was hidden in the earth, and they no longer feared the ravens. So, for all of you who think we were primitive idiots, Abraham made a plow. How about that? And after this manner they made vessels above the ground, also called greenhouses, on all frames of the plows, and they sowed and tilled all the land according as Abraham commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds. Well, we have some ravenous witches up in the White House. Here we learn in Jubilees chapter 6 about what happens when we stray away from the ordained paths and make up our own. Jubilees 6:30 through 38. And all the days of the commandments will be 52 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven and ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year or from year to year. And command that thou children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364. And these will constitute a complete year, and they will not disrupt its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day nor disturb any feasts. But if they do neglect and do not observe them to his commandment, then they will disrupt all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from the order. And they will disrupt this. Hold on. I lost my spot. And they will disrupt the seasons, and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years. Hi, I did. Cahokia Mountains was my key. Hallelujah, thank you, Abba. And will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the orders of the years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee. And it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feasts of the covenant, and walk according to the Gentiles after their error and after their ignorance. So pretty much, Israel, Abba Yahuwah said we are the keepers of his time. If we got some act right, shit would change. Let's continue. For there will be those who will assertedly make observations of the moon, how it disrupts the season and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. That's why you can't go by a lunar calendar or a solar lunar calendar. Verse 37. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disrupt the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy, for they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. Which is why Abba Yahuwah said, no man knows the time or hour or when, because you all fucked it up. So, for this reason I command and testify to thee, that thou may testify to them, for after the death, whose death? Well, if you know who received the book of Jubilees, you would know, the death of Moses. For after thy death, thy children will disrupt them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason they will go wrong as to the new moons and the seasons and the Sabbaths and the festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. Now, we see that the appointed weeks are 52 in a year. We learn that the year should be only 364. And this change, long-term effect, since Moses died. Pretty sad, huh? What does Jeremiah say? Does Jeremiah back up the book of Jubilees? Why, my brothers and sisters, he sure does. Jeremiah 44:22 through 23. So that the Lord could no longer bear because of the evil of your doings, and because of the abominations which you have committed, therefore is your land a desolation, and an astonishment, and a curse, without an inhabitant. Excuse me. As at this day, because you have burned incense, and because you have sinned against the Lord, and have not obeyed the voice of the Lord, nor walked in his law, nor his statutes, nor his testimonies, therefore this evil is happening unto you at this very day. And I burn incense all the time. It doesn't matter. Whenever you are manifesting and you're doing it according to your own free will and not Abba Yahuwah, and you don't understand the times and the signs, or even, fucking climate change, then you're doing it wrong. You're making things worse. So here the key words are abominations, desolation, and astonishment. So let's begin. Again, Jeremiah 44:22 through 23. The abominations means properly something disgusting, morally. That's all you need to know. Desolation, properly a drought, decay, desolate, destruction, or waste. Now, astonishment means ruin. You're astounded, right? It means consternation. What does consternation mean? I already looked that one up. The definition of consternation means feelings of anxiety or dismay, typically at something unexpected. Well, hot dog. Droughts are brought on by disobedience to Abba Yahuwah's word, and not by global warming or climate change. The feelings of dismay and anxiety because the land changes, like coastal lands and lands that are being unveiled due to, the change in sea level water, because that is what Abba Yahuwah does. Again, paradise doesn't have polar ice caps. So, we need to actually understand that when we build our cities along the ocean, are not following Abba Yahuwah's word whatsoever. And we're being destructive and being violent and disobedient. Because people do not heed to Abba Yahuwah's word when he brings about drought, famine, changes in the land, people make things up rather than turning to him and saying, I'm sorry, Abba. Let us do better. Show us what it is that we can do in order to change the direction in which we have gone. For the truth, will set you free. And you will be free indeed. So, Abba Yahuwah's word is what we see with global climate change. A panic of anxiety that can easily go away if the world, nations, and countries would repent. What does Abba Yahuwah's word say about our land being fruitful due to obedience? We find this in Leviticus 26:3 through 6. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield her fruit. And if your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time, and you shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. And I will give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. And I will rid evil beasts out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. The sword meaning God's wrath with his truth. Once he gets rid of all the evil beasts, the land won't need his wrath and truth. So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I pray that you fall on your bitch ass knees. 2 Chronicles 34, 31 through 22. And the king stood in his place and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and with all his soul, to perform the words of the covenant which are written in his book. And he caused all that were present in Jerusalem and Benjamin to stand to it. Remember Ben? It's all about the Benjamins, baby. He ruled over here along the Grand Canyon. And to the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of God, the God of their fathers. And Josiah took away all the abominations out of all the countries that pertained to the children of Israel, and made all that were present in Israel to serve even the Lord their God. In all this days they departed not from following the Lord, the God of their fathers. So, this verse in 2 Chronicles is very important, as this king was very young and he made drastic changes and removed the desolation because he purged the land of sin and followed Abba Yahuwah's words. There's a link at the end of the sermon where you can read more about what Josiah did. So let's read just a little bit more together, and I'll start at verse 1 through 3 of 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles 34, 1 through 3. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years, meaning 31 years. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right nor to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after the God of David his father. And then in the 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places and the groves and the carved images and the molten images. So if a young lad of 8 years old, and then it says his 8th year of reign, which would make him, 16, he began to purge the land of idols, images, and fake news. So can you. Again, if a child can make a difference and choose to turn back to Abba Yahuwah, then so can each and every one of you. Abraham was a young man when he turned away from idols and purged the land in which he lived from abominations. If you think you're the body of Yahusha, but you ain't doing the work, then you're not the body of Yahusha. For climate change is a big, fat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez manufactured scheme to get your money in the New World Order.